Hello, today we're going to look at the web browser Ladybird, which is an open source web browser. Does not use the classic web rendering engines, which are the Blink from Google Chromium and the engine from Apple Safari, which is WebKit, and the engine from Mozilla Firefox Gecko. The web engine from Ladybird and the web engine Servo, which is written in Rust and started at Mozilla Firefox, are the two major web browser engines which are open source, are recent, and will be competitive. That's why the Ladybird web browser is a really important web browser. The web browser was part of the operating system Serenity OS, and starting from this year, the main developer, which is called Andreas Kling, has started working full-time on this web engine and web browser Ladybird. This is the announcement. The website is ladybird.org. I have installed the web browser. The web browser does not have binary packages yet, so you need to build from source code the web browser. So let's see how the web browser looks like. It's using Qt 6 as the graphical user interface frontend on Linux. There's also another frontend for Mac OS. Let's see how the own web page is rendered. Ladybird.org. Resembles the rendering from Mozilla Firefox, but these two circles seem to be diffused in Mozilla Firefox, whereas in Ladybird they are just circles. The rest of the web page seems to render correctly. The expectative is that an alpha release will be done in the year 2026, so that's 1.5 years from now. So that's just the alpha phase, which means, I know, 85% of websites will render almost correctly. But then, since writing an HTML engine and a JavaScript library and the other aspects of a web browser will take a ton of time. There's more than one full-time paid employees working on this web browser, in head with Andreas Kling, the maintainer and founder. So we're expecting that some websites do not render correctly, of course, because we're not past the alpha phase, which is again in the year 2026. Andreas Kling has some blog posts and tweets where we can see the progress of the web browser and where, for instance, the web browser encounters websites which are looking at the user agent string and, for instance, not displaying the full page unless you set inside Ladybird such that Ladybird advertises the Google Chrome user agent string, for instance. Let's see other pages. So let's see this in tabs. Maybe it's because the white theme, the fav icon doesn't look that great. If I write in my address bar in Mozilla Firefox private browsing DuckDuckGo, it will search with Google by default. Whereas Ladybird doesn't have a search provider inside the address bar by default. So it tries to navigate to a strange website. The icon is here. So this go to home image, because I can see the button, and the button doesn't have the correct width, so it's missing the probably the PNG, the icon, the image, and it's not wide enough. It's an SVG plus XML, so that's why it's not rendered. Maybe support for SVG is not that great. There's a ton of APIs that need to be implemented when you're creating a web browser and you want most websites to render correctly, including SVG. Let's search for Ladybird. The fonts are not identical to the ones in Firefox. The rendering is not that great either. For instance, these square parentheses have hollow white pixels in them. The web browser is using most of the Linux style open source libraries such as Harfbuzz and FontConfig and FreeType and broadly on all of the other compression libraries and the image codec libraries, etc. And it's using the full Qt 6. So maybe something can be improved in the font rendering. The fonts look bolder and blacker and easier to see and read in Firefox. These are grayer. And this A, lowercase a, also seems to be a bit taller. Maybe it's a different font family. Okay, let's see some other websites. Let's see a Wikipedia. Right-click, open a new tab, correct. It has a inspector, which I totally did not expect. probably is not the inspector that's probably common in Mozilla Firefox and Google Chromium, but something novel for the inspector. It takes a while to load, but it does the trick. These are probably fonts, I'm going to guess. That's why they don't load. I don't know how to determine if this is a font or not. Would be font family. Nope. Vector icon media wiki UI icon media Wikimedia search load.php. This thing, which is an SVG. So again, SVGs seem to be increasingly used in web browsers, in websites. Edit. Start editing. I totally did not expect this level of functionality. That I can at least seem to get started editing web pages. Maybe saving doesn't work, but let's see if preview works. Hi, so let's make this with the wrong spelling. I'm not sure if the search works correctly. 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3, 2 of 5. So that's just 2 matches as far as I know, or 3. One in, oh no, so it's in here, wherever I edited, in here. Okay, so that's in fact 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This guy. Okay, so the count of matches is okay, but then when I'm at match number 4, refuses to advance to match number 5. So the forward and next, so find next match and find previous match buttons maybe don't work that great. Okay, so the fact that it knew how to talk to MediaWiki and tell it to preview the same web page but with this word changed, that's also huge. Yeah, it's always easy to implement 80% of a technology, which in this case is web browsers, and really hard to do the final 20%. But For me, it certainly feels like it's very close to the 80% that are maybe easier to implement. There's fonts and the correct fonts, correct sizes, correct font families, correct font rendering, hyperlinks, PNG images, bold, serif, sans serif. A ton of JavaScript was probably used in order to get to the edit page and then to preview the changes. Yeah, I totally wish them good luck. And they are totally on the right track. If development continues at the same pace for a number of years from now on, we will totally be in a place where the Ladybird web browser and rendering engine is at alpha quality. It's already way more advanced than very resource constrained web browsers, open source web browsers. Let's see GitHub. That. Why did it go to the wrong page? So this is a fork of the GitHub project Ladybird browser Ladybird. Okay. What am I seeing in here? So I clicked on forked from Ladybird browser Ladybird and it did not update the title of the tab. It remained the previous one. This is certainly JavaScript rich. Whoa. Where am I? Has crashed. Web pages can crash. Yes. So similar to the original Google Chrome architecture, there's multiple sub-processes. There's processes for web rendering. And if such a process encounters an issue or maybe crashes, will not take the entire web browser down. Okay, let's see if it goes to the sign-in page. So they say that they could use the GitHub pull request flow from within the Ladybird web browser for a number of months now, maybe a year. Let's see w3.org. The register. Where is the register? Not in here. The background looks different to me. It's more contrasty with the white between white and black dots, whereas in here it's more washed out. Ladybird minutes. September this year. Context menu. It's the same context menu as on the rest of the page if you right click on an edit box. And it doesn't show the mouse cursor blinking. Okay. There's tab support. You can navigate through the controls on a page. Whoa. Pages crash a lot. This is the mother operating system, Serenity OS, where this web browser Ladybird started. Let's see some HTML benchmarks. I have searched on Google for ACID web browser benchmarks, takes me to acidtests.org. This page does not look completely identical in the two web browsers. Let's see them one by one. ACID 1. Toggle the way plot bar made sync to me. Fonts are different. Are bolder in Ladybird. The radio button things are different. Let's see if they're real radio buttons. And they are. This is a nonsensical document. Parent page. Okay, it looks good to me. Great. So I know that they have implemented support for AC3, which probably means that they're implementing web standards, and they're also looking at the benchmarks. Maybe they're implementing support for the benchmarks in the order which makes sense, which is to implement the simpler ones first. So maybe in order to get to ACID 3, they went through ACID 1 and 2 first. The style for the underline is different. it strikes through the G lowercase, whereas Mozilla Firefox doesn't do that. So the nose on hover becomes blue. Let's see how selection works. Selection works the same. Yes, it does. But there's this red glitch in here. So one horizontal line red. So this is probably not passing 100%. Okay, so this has this small glitch, this red line in the chin. Middle click on the tab bar does what it should, which is close the current tab, the clicked on tab. This I would guess is a glitch because it's black on black, so this entire thing, which is probably an image or what it is, should be like this after the text. So the text and image interaction looks better in Mozilla Firefox, whereas in here it looks all jumbled up and not readable. So I guess this is not how the actest.org has intended for this page to be rendered. Okay, and now acid3. You should not see this at all. But I do. So this surprises me that it seems that Mozilla Firefox doesn't have 100% score in acid3 test. That's extremely novel to me. So the fonts don't look great. It's a different font family for the C, for the I, for the 3. So I has a rounded dot versus a rectangle dot. This 3 has this at 45 degrees angle, whereas this one is a 0 degrees angle. The animation must be smooth. Okay. What about this question mark thing? Ooh, what is that? How do I get this message box? This. So this is support for multiple web browser tabs, whereas the modal message box is modal just to the content of the tab, not to the entire web browser, not to the rest of the tabs. So that's why just the content of the tab is being grayed out and this thing is being shown on top. Whereas in the case of Ladybird, it's probably just using the cute widgets model dialog, which makes it such that you cannot use the rest of the web pages while one of the web tabs shows a model message. L6 tests, expected pre-wrap. So test 23, 25, and 35 fails in the same way between Mozilla Firefox and Ladybird. Okay. So Mozilla Firefox messes up fonts. What is the reference rendering? Because the reference rendering looks different between these two web browsers. Why isn't it just a PNG image? So this is serif fonts. This is sans serif. This is rounded dot. This is rectangle dot. So this text is actually wrong, because in order to pass the test, the end result should not look like this, and maybe not like this. Who knows how? They should have placed a PNG perfect rendering instead of this page for the reference rendering. I have searched on Google for web browser tests. I got to some results. The first we're going to try is html5test.com, which is dead. So the fav icon is displayed inside of the tab. The title is displayed inside of the tab. The title is also displayed on the web browser main Windows title bar. Fonts look different in here versus here. The scores are 399 out of 555 versus 497 out of 555. In here there are 3 columns. In here there's just 1. There's no green background to this 5, as is the case in here. So there's video codecs WebM with VP9. Wow. These rendering glitches where text appears to rotate. Let's see what support for HTML5 audio there is. There's MP3. I'm not sure what provides the audio support, which multimedia library. Maybe it's Qt 6 multimedia. We'll see. DRM. So again, very, very impressive scores out of a web browser which started being, the focus has started being put on a web browser that's Linux and macOS first only this year. And it started using the open source library dependencies that you would expect also only this year. Whereas it used to use built from scratch libraries for everything such that this web browser works correctly both on Linux and on Serenity OS, which is the operating system which contained the source code for Ladybug or Ladybird. Very, very impressive. There's Canvas. Wow. WebGL. Maybe these are not implemented. It just advertises support for such a thing, but who knows? I'm not sure if it still uses the original JavaScript library that was part of Ladybird while Ladybird was part of the Serenity OS, or it's using one of the three most used open source JavaScript engines for web browsers, which are V8 for Google Chromium, the JavaScript core for WebKit, and SpiderMonkey for Mozilla Firefox. I have never heard of these things before, so let's see if this is a legit page or not. Browserbench.org. Speedometer. Speedometer 3.0. Start. Wow. Impressive how many things it does support. So the speed is 10 times faster in Mozilla Firefox. I'm not sure what this speed means. Yeah, speed is probably part of the 20% that remains to be done after the alpha that will happen in 2 years from now. But speed is a never-ending story. It's an optimization story, and it requires a huge amount of people working full-time for many, many years in order to improve the speed to get to the current huge speeds which exist in the three most important open source web rendering engines of today. Okay, so this thing is going to take a while. We are not going to wait for it to finish. Jetstream 2. WebAssembly. What is that? JavaScript and WebAssembly benchmark. Start the test. Another button that's not readable, maybe again because of the SVG usage. Worst, average. It rewards browsers that start up quickly, execute code quickly, and run smoothly. Yeah, again, seems like optimization for speed, which is totally not the case. First comes completion, the fact that you have all of the features which are required by the specification, and also that you're implementing all of the features that are required by the most important websites out there. And after that comes improving the speed and the performance. Even if your web engine renders all of the web pages perfectly, improving speed should be a parallel thing that you do, and you can invest any amount of money and man hours into improving the speed with ever diminishing returns. First of all, you're going to get the most improvements in speed, the lower hanging fruit. And then as time progresses and more effort is thrown into the effort of improving the speed and performance, the gains are going to be ever smaller. Okay, let's ignore this thing. Motion mark. Browser graphics to test. Detecting frame rate. The simple fact that something happens. So there's some support for, I know, Canvas 2D or what's being tested right now. Yeah. I'm searching on Google for YouTube Big Buck Bunny. Everything looks different. Probably Google does some detection, web browser detection, and refuses to show, I know, these gears icon. Or why would this thing be missing? Maybe it's also in here, but very small. And the functionality is underlining with different colors. And the fonts, the fact that it doesn't use the round, completely round circle for the uppercase G. All videos, images, news, maps, products, books. Why is Big Buck Bunny so popular? Who made? Let's see if this thing works. Shows how cruel some people can be. Wow. in a comical manner. So maybe either the HTML that's being served to the two web browsers is a bit different, or the rendering is clearly different. So this list is different, this is different, this part is different. The fact that I cannot find the gears icon in here for quick settings. The fact that people also ask has 2 results versus 4. The different results. I don't have high expectations that a YouTube video page will work, but who knows? Let's see which is which. So this search result is the same as this one. And I can hear the fan speed for the CPU that this web browser is doing 1,000 times more computations than Mozilla Firefox. So it's not as optimized as Mozilla Firefox. And of course, JavaScript heavy pages will load way slower, at least 10 times slower, as we saw in the previous benchmarks for JavaScript speed. So I'll stop the YouTube test. It seems to be rendering 1,000 things very correctly in this page. But at least due to speed issues, it's not at all usable. Let's see how the web page with the announcement, which is substack.com, works on both web browsers. Impressive again. So HRs probably, or what these things are. This is, I don't know, an icon. Images. This pop-up menu with a ton of JavaScript probably. This menu does not work. Okay, but I totally can read the web page if I can scroll through it. How do I scroll? When I press the refresh button, I'm not at all sure that it does anything. Control T works correctly, creates a new tab. So yeah, you almost can scroll in through the page, but not really. The scroll bar looks interesting, and I can scroll down just one page with the mouse wheel. Let's see with the page down key if it works better. Page down works. Now we have two scroll bar things in the scroll bar, but this is the correct one. Home doesn't seem to work. Page up does work. and does not work. Home does not work. So the end keyboard key should go at the end of the page, like this, and the home keyboard key should go at the start of the page. So page down and then home. Let's look a bit at the Chrome, which is the web browser outside the area where the web page is rendered. So the content is this rectangle, whereas the Chrome is the rest, which is this part. There's tabs at the top, as we expect. There's buttons, back, forward, reload with correct tooltips. Would the buttons actually work? The refresh button, I cannot prove that it works. I'm going to guess it does not work yet. There's a very beefy menu in here. I'm not sure if all of these options do what they should. About Ladybird opens a tab, not a modal dialog, which is what I would expect. Similar to the other web browsers and pioneered by Netscape, there are these web browser pages with colon in the name. So about version, about blank, about build, whatever. And this is about colon version. The executable has this strange capitalization with uppercase L, which I would not expect. Should be all lowercase. Okay, let's see if zooming works. Zoom in plus. Control plus, maybe not. So maybe they have added all of the menu items that they could think of, even if they are not implemented yet. I'm not sure why we would do that, but open next tab, new tab, new window. Oh, I'm not sure what's happening here. Control T. Okay, so it opens a new window, but with 0 tabs inside. So you need to go Control T to open a new tab. Okay, close current tab. Finding page, settings. Let's see what settings is. So settings is not a tab, it's a modal dialog. What are the options here? Enable search and Google. Let's see if search works. It does work. Search does work in straight in the address bar. Okay, cool feature to have. Let's look at the task manager. So web content processes with different PIDs for the 3 tabs. There's a web content for the content of this modal dialog. So this modal dialog actually contains a web browser control, and in there the content comes from this process with this process ID. I'm not sure what these numbers mean. Hopefully this modal dialog doesn't take 220 megabytes of random access memory and constant 3% CPU. image decoder request server. So this, I would guess, does HTTP, HTTPS operations. This does converting PNG files to actual pixels. Chrome might be the unifying process on top of these three tabs. Show menu bar, great feature to have. Neighbor scripts pop-ups. This is probably navigator compatibility mode. This is one of these two is support for changing the user agent such that websites will provide the full website experience, not just some crippled down version where it just says, please install Google Chrome on your computer. So at least spoof user agent Chrome Linux desktop. Garbage collection. Line box borders. A debug tool which visualizes these dumps. What do they mean? Do they create files? Probably. Let's see the view source. About src doc. So source might be two things, either the web page that has been received from Google, which is the initial HTML, or the instantaneous HTML, which is the HTML that's loaded in this millisecond in this web browser control. So the content of the DOM, document object model DOM. View source is available from here or from, where are you? Here, inspect view source. If I touch the Alt key on my keyboard, I can see the accelerators. So F for the file menu. Alt F works as expected. I'm not sure why this letter A dances, but I'm going to guess it's because of Qt framework. I'm not sure. Only that one dances. That's extremely strange. So only the space between the uppercase T and lowercase a changes when I press the Alt key repeatedly and press and release the Alt keyboard key. Open inspector. So this is the inspector which we saw previously. Takes a while to load. Maybe it's full of JavaScript. And we already saw the task manager. I'm not sure what these menu items do. Motion, contrast, color scheme. Sometimes zoom in works, at least for about src doc. Open previous tab. So that's Control Shift tab, right? Control tab, Control Shift tab. You work correctly. Control T, Control W, and finally Control Q. Yes. So the conclusions, the web browser moves way better than I would expect. It might use too much random access memory. It totally uses too much CPU cycle, too many CPU cycles. Rendering is way above what I would expect. The fact that JavaScript actually works and shows menus and a million of things, that's extremely impressive. And the start was in the year 2018 when the Serenity OS project has started. So that's just 6 years ago. And not all of the focus of the lead developer, Andreas Kling, went exclusively on the HTML rendering control straight from the year 2018. Because first of all, you needed operating system things, which is a bootloader, a kernel, a userland, a window, wing system, a text editor. So Serenity OS was used as the main developer platform in order to develop Serenity OS, probably, right? So thank you, Andreas Kling, for your effort. The web browser looks promising, and the path that the web browser Ladybird is on also looks very, very promising. Thank you.